Say when we're ready. Give me the nod.
Ready.
Okay. Good evening and welcome to Mirador's Round Table. 4 brave souls this evening. We may be joined by another one, we may not. But anyway, I'm quite sure the discussion will be as vibrant and as robust as ever. Now, the local council in Lewes knows very well that I am as poor as a church mouse. So why they have used the exemption in the Data Protection Act to delve into my bank account, I have no idea. But there are others who have a few more bob who have suffered the same fate. Is it right that the Data Protection Act, which stops us from finding out so many things from our masters, should actually allow them to dig into our bank account? Now, Melissa, I know that you've actually looked into this, into the Data Protection Act and the exemptions. What's your feeling about it?
Well, I mean, I think overall, I mean, we have something similar here in the United States, in California. And so really companies across the country are in fact having to abide by the standards in California, which is very similar to GDPR. The fines are less, but it's similar in nature. I think overall there are some good protections because, you know, it's difficult when a consumer has very little power or control over their data. And then it can be sold to those who, you know, would kind of prey or advertise to you without your knowledge. So there's some good aspects to it. I know, in fact, it can be very burdensome, however, to small businesses who have to abide by these rules. And so you have to have a compliance department and attorneys and accountants, and it can be very much of a burden to small businesses.
Well, one of the things that concerns me is that they are using it for financial reasons. But if I'm out with Stephen, then Stephen should fall down in the street. And I call the surgery and they say, "Are you a relative?" And I say, "No, we can't talk to you because of the Data Protection Act. He is our client and we can't reveal anything." That seems to me to be a strange anomaly. Stephen?
Well, I would agree in those circumstances, but I would think, Keith, if I fell down in the street, instead of calling the surgery, you'd ring 999.
I'd probably take you to the pub, first of all, to try and revive you. But after that...
Well, that won't revive me. It'll make me worse. But, of course, every silver lining has a cloud. And the protections which we think are offered to us will have loopholes. And in the case of a local authority, I think, with the greatest respect to the man in the hat, I think I understand why. There is so much fraud in council tax evasion that perhaps they need this loophole to find out who is telling the truth. And I'm not saying for one moment, Keith, that you are not, but none of us know, and we may, oh, and I wasn't being funny either. None of us know the state.
I always laugh my way out of trouble, Stephen.
Sometimes right into it, I think. None of us know the state of, forget central government affairs, they don't know the state of them. They just spent 700 million on a lorry park in a country part of Kent. So they don't know how much they're spending and where's it coming from. That's not the point. We do not know the state the country will be in at the end of this. We do not know the state of local authority finances, but we may be absolutely sure a lot of their reserves will have been depleted. Coming up soon, one will have a Lewes Town Council audit panel meeting. I am a little confused, and you may think it's strange, but it doesn't take much to confuse me. The financial year runs from April. The first quarter will finish in June. The municipal year starts in May, and I do not know which year we follow in a local authority, whether it's the municipal year or the financial year. But certainly, come the end of July, beginning of August, I expect to see the state of the town council's finances. And only then will I begin to understand how much the closure, the lockdown, the lack of facilities being open has affected local authorities. And one may therefore think it will have affected central government in pretty much the same way, to a greater extent. And so they are looking to retrieve money that is due to them, that they are due by law. And I suppose in these circumstances, they have every right to use such powers as they have to investigate. That's all I want to say. It's enough already.
No, I shall come back to you on that, Stephen. But let's go to Mr. Moneybags. Paul, this is a financial issue to begin with, but to me, it's an intrusion into another government intrusion into our lives. What's your view?
Well, they're doing conflicting roles, the government, because on the one hand, the Act is good and DPA is, of course, essentially a good thing. But then they're putting themselves in an exemption situation, which kind of, find the man on the Clapham omnibus. I think, well, that can't be right. What I've found out, and a friend of mine has actually taken an authority to court over a DPA matter. This is something, obviously, sub judice. But what I would say is that if there ought to be, the way around this, I feel, is having an independent arbiter. Now, we have the Information Commission of the UK in this country, and my friend who is taking procedures contacted them, and he said they're a complete toothless tiger. So there are independent arbiters on the DPA and the government, but they're not listened to at all. So I would say the way around it, I'm not saying you have a kangaroo court or somebody, a 20-year-old with somebody from Wiltshire, all that, but surely the way around this big brother, the Caesar big brother, is actually having somebody to watch over what the government's doing. Now, it's rather who's regulating the regulator, who's checking the checker. So I think that's a fundamental problem. It isn't set up right. I think it means well, but it isn't working.
Well, as you know, I play a wonderful game because I'm just old enough and perhaps foolish enough. So that sometimes, if I feel that I'm being abused by the council tax, I let them take me to court. But when you actually get down to court, they're so terrified of going in front of the magistrate, they make deals. And what it is that they're hiding, either they're behind a data protection or some other shield, I have no idea. Melissa, how is it in your country?
Well, I mean, you have to have the money to fight the regulators. It's very frightening to go before regulators. They have a tremendous amount of power. So your small person or your small business is going to have a difficult time defending themselves. Absolutely.
Good evening, Mr. Hayes. I don't know if you can see me, but I have arrived.
All right, okay. Well, actually, it's very interesting because Annie was having a fight with the council. And as she's taking her second law degree, she looked at what they were saying, went down and said, you got it wrong. And they had to admit that they had. Tell us about that, Annie.
That was a different matter, but yes, this is why I don't trust them. This GDPR thing, I got the letter saying, oh, you haven't paid your tax, and we looked into your bank account, and we know you have funds for this priority debt. Okay, first of all, shouldn't you maybe ask me about it, talk to me about it, instead of looking into my private funds first? And just because there is money in there, does that mean I can afford my council tax? No. I'm a single mum with 2 children. How do you know what's priority to me? Maybe it's not the council tax.
Stephen?
Especially under lockdown.
Yeah. Stephen?
I hear what you all say, but of course, it is the problem in everything concerned with government. Who controls them? Now there is at Lewes District Council a scrutiny committee who scrutinises what the council is doing. It's got about as many teeth as I have at the moment. it really doesn't do anything. And of course, the officers do not want it to have teeth. And this is where it is now becoming very difficult at a local level. I believe that at local level, the officers think they are unchallengeable.
Mhm.
They don't like to ask questions. They don't like you even venturing near them. And this is not accountability as I understand it. One really, perhaps, should try and get a barrister from Westgate Chambers to do something pro bono on this. There are one or two who are public champions who will do the odd pro bono thing. And it needs a challenge at that level. They will give you, because you don't need to approach a barrister through a solicitor anymore. You can approach a barrister direct. And they, perhaps collectively, one might approach Westgate Chambers and ask for an opinion and see where it goes from there. I find them a very affable lot for Lewis.
The barristers, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. They love bellying up to the bar.
Of course, like you. Once you get past the clerks, you've got to get past the clerks. But certainly I do know one or two, and consider it. Let's see what we can do. If that's the way you want to approach it, I certainly don't mind. I will see the dentist to get some more teeth.
I do know a couple of barristers in London that have got chambers down here. Perhaps that's the way. I can get them drunk in London and act down here. Paul, what's your view on what Stephen's just said? Because it does seem to me that at all levels, the tail is wagging the dog.
Sorry, Keith, I didn't hear that. Are you asking me a question?
Yes.
Right, say again.
You just had a bath, I take it.
Does that make him deaf?
You're breaking up.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. I'll try to speak slowly and hope the question gets through.
Okay, right.
But it seems to me that that in civil service or officers, as Stephen calls them, and the elected representatives, that the tail is wagging the dog.
Yes, I'd agree with that. I mean, I've not been a local councillor. I was once put up to be one. I look at it from a legal view. The case that my friend is involved in is, by the way, so I have to be careful, it's gone to the European Courts of Human Rights. So it's got to the highest court which can arbitrate. And I'm not saying it'd be a milestone win, but he spent about $500,000 so far on getting it that far. I won't say who he is, but he's an excellent guy. He's actually, and he's gone all the way over 7 years. He's done it. So I'll wait for the hearing's results. But the DPA has been called into question on that. And I imagine, as I say, I don't think in itself, I think it's very well intentioned. There's no doubt that you do need data protection. But it's rather like, it seems to me it's rather like master criminal. It is allowing you to do certain things and then saying, well, I'm the master criminal, I'll get away with not actually telling you if I investigate you. It just seems, as Melissa said, that is the Big Brother aspect. And that worries me.
What a succinct, Paul, what a succinct description of the present government as a master criminal. They must have done a degree in it. And it must be MC, Master of Criminology.
You're right.
Well, Paul actually almost arrested the Chief Constable of Lewis, of Sussex.
That's my brother. No, that's my brother.
Your brother did, but you stood by, I think, with the handcuffs. Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, that gets, it's terrible when somebody who is heading a police force he resigned afterwards. But Melissa and I think we both, the Big Brother thing's always worried me ever since I was a young boy reading Orwell and H.G. Wells. And that's always in the back of my mind as a policeman, as a banker, as somebody who'd like to represent in politics. And I just despair that the man, as I say, I'll go back to the man that travelled on with us. If you ask him, A, when the DP Act was actually made, B, do you know the fines that can be levied, C, he won't have a clue. And yet it is affecting all our lives.
Melissa, I think that your politicians are rather more involved with the executive than ours are. What sort of relationship is there between the official and the elected official, or elected representative?
In regard to this subject? Keith?
In governance at all?
Well, I mean, they're melding into one these days. So in terms of our executive and our legislative branch, they seem to, you know, prop each other up.
Keith, may
Does
I
that
pop
work?
in?
Does it work?
Okay,
No, no, because I mean, it's a system of checks and balances, and there are no checks.
Yeah.
It's a problem.
Perhaps you're better than we are. Yes, Stephen.
I just wanted to say, at the moment, there is a little battle going on at the town council because we want to know when the town hall is reopening, and questions have been asked of the town clerk, the chief executive, if you like, who keeps telling us that he is the council's employee. But we cannot get from him who on the council or which council committee does he answer to. That's the only question we want answered. So to whom do you report? And he's hiding behind sheaves of paper. We will get there because there is a tiger as an elected member, and it's not me. I'm far too civil. But we are heading that way, and we'll come to a row. Shops are open, bars are open, pubs are open, cafes are open. Why is the town hall firmly shut? And more to the point, why does it display a notice outside saying we're keeping the town hall open at the moment when it's bleeding locked and barred?
It's the same on the utilities bill. Any, you chat to people in the street and so on and so forth. As I constantly point out, perception is terribly important. Is there a perception of trust and confidence in our present administration at the district council level?
Is the Pope Catholic? No, there isn't. That's
There
the short
isn't.
answer.
Because the feeling, even among elected members, is that Eastbourne wags Lewis, and we are ostensibly two separate authorities, Eastbourne Borough Council, which is responsible for 4 square miles of urbanism, and Lewis District Council, which is responsible for 113 square miles of rural district with entirely different problems. But I tell you,
Okay.
the other day I saw...
We've run out of time, and I would like for you to tell me what the perception is amongst the public, because we can talk about the fact and we can talk about legislation, but in the long run, it's whether what people think that counts.
Yep.
And that is often toppled governments.
Yes, absolute useless. So when somebody who depends on the council and believes everything the council, well, used to, and many people still go by what the council says and believes them, right? So the issue that you mentioned 5 minutes ago, but I had to point the legal issue out to them, I think they should be absolutely embarrassed and ashamed, because they made a horrible mistake with me. Unfortunately, they didn't know that I know my way around the law and legislation, and I know how to read it. So I pointed it out to them. Of course, all I got was, "We are so sorry." Well, you can be sorry, but how many people have you done that to?
Yeah.
How many people who just go by the letter that you sent them, you say, this is what you get, this is what you have, this is what we give you, this is what we take away. And there must be thousands of people who you messed with. And that's horrible and disgusting.
Melissa, does all this sound very peculiar to you? Very British?
It does sound peculiar, because I'm wondering whether these people have accountants. Because when a taxing authority comes after a taxpayer for non-payment of taxes, yes, in fact, the financial institutions are contacted, but the person has an accountant who's supposed to be responsible for that and will speak for the client. So I'm wondering, do you all have accountants there for your taxes?
This is different. So this is not the tax that, you know, it's not your income tax sort of thing. It's the council tax is you pay it for police, fire brigade, the rubbish being taken away. So that's the council tax.
Right.
And you pay a certain amount of money depending on where you live, what house you live in, and which area of the town. And it can go obviously from cheap to very expensive.
So you're referring to like a property tax here. That's what it would be. It would be a property tax. And then there are also, we would get bills separately for water or for garbage pickup and for all of these various services. That's how it works here.
Right. So the council tax here covers the emergency services, fire brigade, police, garbage.
Okay, ladies, we're running out of time, so I want the gentleman to have a word or two. Paul?
I don't know where this will go, but I fear that there's going to be repercussions worldwide on this one. I would like to see an independent arbiter would be one way of starting the process, because I can't believe a government, whether it's whatever hue the government is, should be allowed to just get on its merry way and actually flout democracy, which is the fact that they can, as I'm speaking, they could be looking at my account for all I know. And that's not a good thing. That is Orwellian. So I just think that it's got to be clarified, it's got to be more open, and the public should be educated as well. Most of the public probably don't know what the DPA actually does.
Stephen, final word?
I think Paul is absolutely correct. The public doesn't know which authority is responsible for which. In Lewis, they just dismiss it by saying it's the council. Which one? We have 3 and a national park as well. But there is, of course, the local government ombudsman, to whom anyone can send details. I think he also may be toothless, but enclose a file with a metal file with your letter and ask him to sharpen his teeth with it.
Well, I've just put in an appeal on the Freedom of Information Act. I expect it'll take me 7 years, and when I get the answer, it'll be heavily redacted. So if you'll forgive me, I have to go back to working on my piece of freedom of information. Thank you to the panel from Mirador Television. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Bye.
Come on.